Welcome to Between Two Chairs, Demystifying Commercial Real Estate, the podcast that brings you the latest insights and trends on the South Florida commercial real estate market, with your hosts, Fernando and I Jr. and Jennifer Woolman. In each episode, we dive into the world of commercial real estate and break down complex concepts to make them accessible for everyone. Whether you're a real estate professional, a curious investor, or just interested in the South Florida market in general, Between Two Chairs is the podcast for you. So pull up a chair and join us.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Between Two Chairs with my co-host, Fernando Arancibia Jr. I'm Jennifer Woolman, and I'm super excited. I've been driving our poor guest crazy over the last couple of weeks, texting her with my excitement, but we are interviewing Beth Azor today, also known as the Canvassing Queen. She's the founder and owner of Azor Advisory Services, a commercial real estate advisory and investment firm here in South Florida. She's a mom, owns and manages shopping centers, is a developer, content creator, author, networker extraordinaire, and my favorite part is she's a teacher at heart. She is one of the most open and giving people that I know of her time, of her knowledge. She's full of energy and ideas, and I couldn't think of anybody better to start our December series with, since we're going to be talking all about giving for December. So welcome, Beth. It's awesome to have you here and to see you. We're so excited.
We certainly are.
Thank you, Jennifer and Fernando. I'm so excited to be here, and I love the theme of giving. Love it. So, and congratulations on the podcast. You guys are doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty exciting to jump into this and find out we were one of the top 5 in South Florida. So that was pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
And thank you for all you do. I mean, you're everywhere. You always say it's not necessarily who you know, it's who knows you. And I think I feel like everybody should know you. Right?
I agree. Absolutely.
But let's just get started real quick with the South Florida Independent Retailers Award, because that was last month. And we're not going to give away who the winner was, since that's covered in our previous episode. But I want to get an idea of some background on how you came up with this idea and why.
Sure. So thank you for that. So I love helping independent retailers achieve their American dream. Right. And that's why I got into retail leasing to begin with. Someone said, hey, you can lease space in shopping centers and help mom and pop tenants achieve their American dream. I said, where do I sign up for that? So that's, something way bigger than all of us. So I started in retail leasing 38 years ago, and ICSC came to me, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers, about 6 years ago. And they said, we really want to get more local independent retailers and mom and pops involved in ICSC. Why don't you do a talk or a workshop for those mom and pops at one of our conferences? I said, they're not coming to hear me. They don't even know who I am. That didn't go anywhere, because really ICSC is more about the national and the franchises. But it did spur an idea. And one of my friends in South Florida, Hugh Chen, who's the president of SAGLO, called me up after hearing the story and said, we should do it. And I said, we should do what? And he said, we should have an awards show for the best in class South Florida independent retailers. And I was like, oh, that is amazing. I love that idea. And we started, this last month was our 5th annual. And it's a very unique opportunity for landlords and brokers and the community to come and meet, and find out who is the best bagel and who is the best wings and who is the best sit down. And it's a lot of fun. And because a lot of the nationals and regionals and franchises, exactly, Jen, what you had mentioned, everyone knows them. And not really, there's no highlight, there's no place to showcase these independents. And they get showcased at our event. And it's so much fun, and I love it. And I'm helping them achieve their American dream.
I know. I love that.
That is so awesome. I love, by the way, I see you as a superhero because every time that I turn on any social media, I get glimpses of the origin story of Beth Azor, which is just amazing. But this was the 5th anniversary of the South Florida Independent Retailers Award. So how has it changed from the first one? Are you seeing a difference in the type of retailer that is getting nominated and really in the people that are joining in this celebration?
The early years, we had a lot more retailers, fitness, but it's crazy what's happened in South Florida with retail and restaurant expansion. So I would say that this year's awards was 95% food and beverage. You know, it's what the people want. So we deliver what they want.
So in a way, if you look at the trajectory of awards, it kind of mimics the trends in retail that we have seen over the past 5 years.
100%. 100%.
And so obviously you have a big soft spot for small businesses. So tell us some of the lessons you have learned from the small business as a landlord rep, tenant rep, owner, kind of in your different roles.
You know, wow, during COVID, boy, did we see passion and commitment from our mom and pops, right? I mean, they would call me crying saying, I know my rent's $4,000. I can give you $1,000. I'll drop it off at your house under the mat. And, you know, they were loyal and they were resilient. They, you know, I was calling them going, go do hair out in the parking lot. Go put a tent out and do to-go food. Well, what's the town or the city going to say? I don't care. I'll take care of them. Their resilience through something we had never experienced before, the government shutting down our business, right? So it was amazing. I have 101 tenants. I only lost one. I lost one on March 28th. A foot massage woman that had been pretty successful for 3 years called me up and said, no one's going to want their feet touched. I'm out. Can I get it? My lease is coming up. I'm out. And I said, well, it's March 28th. Like, don't you want to play this out? And she goes, I see it being played out. I'm out. But everyone else, I didn't lose one other tenant. So the resilience and the creativity that they displayed, and with my help, I'm a big reader, Jen knows. I'm reading 3 or 4 magazines or newspapers, and I'm on Clubhouse listening to what everyone's doing around the country. And anytime I would get an idea or I'd hear of someone doing something in different states around the country, I would be calling them saying, hey, I had a Caneswear, tenant who I absolutely love 364 days of the year. Not this week, but any other, go Seminoles is our big game. But so I called them and I said, you need to be the ESPN of South Florida. There's no new sports content out there because everything's shut down, but you have access to coaches and players, and we can do Instagram lives. Let's get everyone to remember who you are. So when we come back, they remember, and you provide a service and you provide content and entertainment for the South Florida community. So my lessons I've learned over the years from tenants is their resilience, their creativity, their drive, their ambition. I mean, I have tenants come say, they're barely making it and they want to open 5 more locations. How do you not love that spirit of entrepreneurialism?
Well, and you're perfect for that. Isn't the Caneswear one that you started out as a pop-up? I know he was a one that you canvassed. Tell us a little bit about that, because talk about a success story from literally nothing, a vacant space that you had.
Oh, yeah. So I was driving to work one day. My leasing office was in the shopping center, and I'm driving down University Drive where I have 4 shopping centers on that street. And I see these lawn signs that say Canes Apparel and an address. And I know, first of all, apparel, because there's not a lot of local apparel retailers, right? They're mostly all national. So when you see a local apparel, that tweaked my brain. And then I saw the address was in a warehouse area nearby, not in a retail setting. And he had like 30 signs in the median of the street. I said, I got to go find this guy. I love the marketing, and he's apparel. So I went over, and it was like for appointment only or weekends only or something. But I peeked in the window and I saw 3,000 square feet of, shoes and jackets and jerseys. And even though they were the Hurricanes, I'm an equal opportunity landlord. So I called the guy up, and it was August. So he was going into football season. And I said, you need to come be at my shopping center. He's like, no, I can't afford it. That's why I'm in the warehouse, and I'm really busy. It's football season. I said, okay, I'm going to call you in January. Well, typical salesperson, I forgot. Fast forward a year later, the signs go up in the median again in August. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I dropped the ball, on this guy. So I called him up again. I said, I'm putting it in my calendar, January 5th. We're going to have a meeting. You're coming to my shopping center. So January 5th, I'm calling, and he walks in my office one day with the La Spada subs, by the way, one of my favorite tenants. And I literally jumped over my desk because he had his cane drawer, like, you have to come to my shopping center. And he's like, I can't afford it. I said, I'm going to make you a deal you can't refuse. And I said, I'm going to show you this space. Let's just do a pop-up for next year's football season. I'll charge you $1,000 a month. I said, what are you doing in sales in your warehouse? And he told me the number. I said, you're going to double that here. And he goes, well, from your mouth to God's ears. He agrees to take the space. I said, you got to take it as is. And it was kind of in bad shape. You need to pay insurance and the utility bill until you open. And then the day you open, it's $1,000 a month for the 5 months of football season. At the end of the football season, we'll meet and we'll decide, if you're going to stay, go back to the warehouse, what you're going to do. He more than doubled his sales during football season. So I said, okay, great. So now what we're going to do is you can stay and pay $1,000 a month, but next year's football season, you're going to pay $5,000 a month during those football months. He did that for a couple years. Then I got him on a permanent lease. He was killing it. Then I moved him, which he didn't want to do. Don't move me away from Las Spadas. I'm going to lose all my business. I'm like, no, you have to move. So I doubled. He went from 1,100 square feet to 2,200 square feet. He stayed in that space for 2 or 3 years. I just moved him right before this football season. He moved to 4,500 square feet. So it's absolutely the American dream story, from a sign on the median in a street in the middle of my town. And what I love is I love destination tenants because they have a customer that comes from far away to your shopping center. And the campus is 30 miles away from my shopping center. So he gets people from Tallahassee that shop in his store.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. I mean, how fortuitous for him that you were tenacious and connected the dots between a sign and a warehouse and your retail space. Because imagine, what his life would have looked like looking back and still being in a warehouse compared to now, right? So.
And now he has soccer, Messi. He's got the Heat. He's got the Panthers. He's got the Dolphins. He doesn't have any Seminole stuff.
Different demographic.
I just love how if you're a tenant in one of Beth Azor's spaces, you get a business consultant as well. I just love the free sharing of ideas and the encouragement of creativity. You do something that
Fernando, they don't always like it when I put my nose in it.
That's okay. But those that do, they excel. So, there's something to be said for that. But, you do something that I find so amazing. One of the descriptions that Jennifer brought up for you is as a teacher. And I see you definitely, the heart of a teacher is definitely very, very much there. A lot of top producers and a lot of people that are successful, they have a hard time giving away what they consider secrets. They have a hard time giving away sharing of the free sharing of ideas. One of the things that you do is this canvassing boot camp, in which you teach people to get over that fear of knocking on the door, walking into a business, having that conversation. So I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about your philosophy of freely sharing ideas, and also what are some of the lessons that you've learned from the people you are canvassing with in your boot camp?
Sure. Thank you. So, yeah, I'm the canvassing queen. I'm actually, right now, you caught me in Cleveland, Ohio, where I've been working on a mall that, 15% occupied mall. I've met 2,319 businesses that I didn't know before 2 years ago, and we've signed 49 leases. And it's all from canvassing, going into their businesses, and also social media prospecting. But, Jennifer and Fernando, there are absolutely no secrets. Like anyone that's holding on to something they think is a secret, I don't believe there's any secrets. And at 63 years old, my goal is, I want everyone to be successful because I've just enjoyed life and I want everyone to enjoy life. And if I can give them one of my biggest supposed secrets, which it's not, and I've talked about a lot, is when you go into a business, you don't go in and ask, can I speak to the owner? Like that's the biggest fallacy ever. And that was what sales gurus talked about. You got to get to the decision maker. Well, what you're doing when you walk in and and there's a clerk behind the desk or the gatekeeper, you're making them feel bad. Like, hey, can I speak to the owner? Well, first of all, if they are the owner, they're like, why don't you think I'm the owner? And if they're not the owner, they think, why don't you think I could be the owner? So you absolutely should never ask that question. It's a lose, lose, lose. If you respect the gatekeeper and you treat them with respect and dignity, they will give you the owner's information 99% of the time because they will be appreciative that you respected them. So that's probably one of the biggest secrets that I talk about all the time. And I still will, people will come to my boot camp. I will tell them this, and then I'll take them canvassing in the afternoon, which we do in our boot camp. And then they literally, it comes out of their mouth and I have to almost slap them. I'm going to go, what did you not hear? So, but yeah, when people canvass with me, which hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of people have canvassed with me at this point, they can't believe how fast I am. It's all a numbers game, and we're in and out because people. I ask in my boot camp, why do people not canvass? And one of the main reasons is they say they're afraid of rejection. I go, okay, and why would a business owner reject someone? And they say, well, because you're interrupting what they're doing. I go, great. So what we want to do is interrupt them as fast as possible. And most entrepreneurs, when they opened their first one to achieve their American dream, they had plans for more. So when you walk in and say, I own real estate, and I would like to know if you want to expand, the minute you'd say that you don't tell them you're the cable guy, they want to talk to you. And even if they're not expanding, they know you have market data. So they want to talk to you. So as long as you get it out really fast, I don't go in and say, hi, my name is Beth. I own shopping. They don't care what your name is. I walk in and say, I have shopping centers. Are you interested in expanding? No? Okay, bye. I'm in and out in seconds, but normally they go, you own shopping centers? Where are they? And they have an interest. So the people that canvass with me go, we can't believe how fast you are. And so my goal is 30 business cards or 3 hours, whichever I do first. And I try to canvass once a week when I'm in South Florida and not traveling.
Yeah, I'm amazed that you still do it all yourself. When I told somebody that we were going to be interviewing you and everything, they're like, wow, well, she must have a huge staff. And I said, no, she still does most of it herself. She's still the one doing the canvassing and teaching the boot camps and knocking on the doors for her own centers. And this woman was just amazed by you. So I can't wait for her to hear this episode.
I have Josie, who's been with me 20 years. In 2024 will be our 20th year together. She started with me at the beginning. I have a property manager and I have a part-time bookkeeper. And I do have a social media part-time person that is a contracted person, but we consider her part of our team. That's it. I always have an intern. I have interns hanging around every summer. Usually I try to get 3 or 4 of them.
Right. No, but it's amazing with all you do, because you would think there's this mass whirlwind of team behind you, and you're very efficient.
I also like the concept of you go into Cleveland, you're and the fact that you have these conversations with over 2,000 businesses, how much more insight that gives you into that market, that it's not just the broad strokes that you can learn by doing some preliminary research, but now you're really talking to the people that are opening these businesses, and you're starting to create a better sense, right, of the marketplace that is, very unique. That's a very unique set of data that you have created for yourself. Am I right about that?
100%. When I first came here, so what I love, this has been the most impactful thing of my career that I've done, because of the 49 businesses we've signed, 45 are Black-owned businesses and 43 are women Black-owned businesses. So through Dan Gilbert and Bedrock, they've given the entrepreneurial community of Cleveland a big leg up, and I've been blessed to be part of it. But when I used to teach the boot camps, Jen and Fernando, people would say, when I would tell them canvassing works, and I would get the naysayers, and they would say, well, of course it works for you. You own the shopping centers. You're the decision maker. You've been in South Florida for 37 years. You know all the brokers. Of course, you know the retailers. Of course it works for you. So I'm very proud that I came to a market where I knew not one person. We did 1 and 2 year deals, so there were no tenant rep brokers calling me with their clients. And I literally had to take my system and roll it out in a market I didn't know a soul. And I was selling a 15% occupied mall. I have never even leased a mall in my life. So I'm very proud of our 49 leases.
Yeah, it shows total proof of concept outside the sphere, right outside of where you actually developed it. So amazing. That's amazing. And I know with your shopping centers, you've also been able to get into construction and development beyond just tenant improvement. So tell us real quickly about that. I know development isn't your favorite part of it, but
I keep saying I'm never going to do it again. And then you do. And then I call Jen. I go, I think I found another development deal. It's painful. So I look for opportunity, and I can't help myself. I was at a city council meeting, my first development ever. I was at a city council meeting, I think 2016, and I was there for a charity that I'm involved with, trying to get money from the town, and they decided to outlaw strip clubs. And immediately my commercial real estate brain went, there's a strip club right on Main and Main. I have to buy that property and knock it down and develop a shopping center, which I did. At one point we kept saying, we're going to do ground leases. We're going to do ground leases. I've never built a shopping center. We're going to do ground leases. But the numbers didn't play out as well for ground leases as it did for a shopping center. And I called my partner one day. I go, I don't know, we can't really ignore, this is going to be way better than the ground leases. And I go, but I've never done it before. He goes, I'll help you. No, I'll help you. And I was teaching, speaking of, in Spain that summer for Florida State. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're under construction. I've never done this before. We had so many ups and downs, and after that, and it's a huge success. It's one of the biggest financial successes of my career, but it was super painful because I kind of like, you guys have probably figured this out. I like to know what I'm doing. And I did not know what I was doing. I went through 5 project managers, and because I wanted to hire an expert to help guide me through the process. But I don't know. I keep punishing myself, and I keep doing it. But maybe I'll figure it out sooner or later. But it's not my joy. But I like when I don't want to ignore opportunity.
Right. And I think to your point, you say you like knowing what you're doing, but you also love to learn.
Oh, I do.
And you love a challenge, which we're going to get into the challenge part a little bit later. But I think to your point, you don't like it because you don't know what you're doing, but you like it because it presents an opportunity, not just a financial one, but also to learn and challenge yourself to something totally new, because you are not somebody to sit on your laurels and just relax and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Right. That's true. I love to learn. That's probably my biggest. I'm addicted to learning, for sure.
Which is an awesome trait.
We always talk to people how important it is in a shopping center to really curate the experience of what you're trying to create and to make sure that there's symbiotic relationships between all parties in the shopping center. I'm really interested about what are the differences when you're dealing with a big corporation like Wawa or Starbucks. What are the nuances of developing or leasing to them versus a smaller company?
Oh, it's really different because, they've got staffs of 20 and 30 and 40 lawyers and project developers and facilitators and real estate managers. You really need to know, be on your game when you're negotiating with them, even though they are just people. But they can run circles around people that aren't prepared and are not sophisticated in certain things. So you have to have your team also that knows what they're doing. So when I was negotiating, I bought an office building, a 2-story office building, knocked it down, another development. And I built a Starbucks strip center on the south half, and on the corner, we ended up doing a Wawa. And I had never done a Wawa deal before. So I called all my friends and I put the word out and I said, I need an attorney to represent me that has done other Wawa deals. So, and that's who I hired. And, Wawa didn't like that. They would have rather me hire, an attorney I used to sell my house. So, but you have to bring people on the team that have experience that you don't have. So they're super sophisticated. On the other hand, an independent retailer or food and beverage operator is not as sophisticated, but they will sign things that they don't read. I don't support that. So if I think, if they tell me I'm going to do X amount of sales and I know that they can't afford my rent, I will tell them why I don't sign leases to make money. That's a mistake. And you're not going to have strong projects if you do that. If you kind of take someone down, you take advantage of someone that's unsophisticated. So I tell them they should hire lawyers. Their lawyers should not be the lawyers that sold their house. There should be lawyers that have represented commercial leases. So I teach the people I'm selling to because I want them to be around, because a successful shopping center is a shopping center where you have curated people that stay and bring customers to the shopping center that gel together. You don't want a shopping center that has a bunch of people moving in and moving out because, they didn't know better. They just signed leases. They didn't have representation. And now you're in lawsuits. And when I lay my head on the pillow at night, I want to know I did everything I can to help my tenants and my business and my partners. And I don't want to think, and there's a lot of landlords out there that kind of take advantage of the little guy, and that just disgusts me.
You're very into the importance of reading lease, both as a landlord, obviously landlord rep and tenant rep. What are some of the strangest things? Because I think that sometimes in commercial leasing, people are like, oh, well, once as a rep, whether landlord rep or tenant rep, once we find the tenant, we don't really need to do much because the attorneys do it, right? And I'm one of those that I still read the leases, even though I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV. What is it that you have found in leases that kind of have been like either an aha moment or a no way am I signing this lease moment? Or
I've seen leases where it says that the landlord can just terminate the lease for any reason at any time, and mom and pops have signed it.
Yeah.
They don't read the independent retailers don't hire representation, and they sign anything. And most times it doesn't hurt them because that's not the intention of the landlord or the developer. But, any time in the history of retail real estate when something went wrong, a clause was added to the lease. I have clients that have 80-page lease documents. I try to get to 5. We don't need to pay the attorneys by the word, so I think that's probably been the most egregious thing I've seen in a lease, and it's a tiny little sentence in a big paragraph, don't sign that.
Right. The other thing that I found, and it was funny because I actually went to a restaurant and it was this great restaurant and we ordered a hamburger and everybody wanted a beer and they're like, oh, we can't serve beer or wine. And we were like, why not? And we looked at the menu and the menu was a little bit bizarre for what their name of their company and everything. And it turns out that their neighboring tenant had exclusivity. So they couldn't sell anything that was on the other restaurant's menu. And they had no idea when they signed that. Mm-hmm. And they were going to be like a chicken and wing. And nope, they sold chicken next door. So they couldn't sell anything. So that was in that other person's lease. And I was like,
Oh, I've had leases where I bought a shopping center and the prior owner gave an exclusive to no alcohol whatsoever for a tenant, or they couldn't sell. The only other restaurant that could be opened would be an ethnic restaurant, or no more than 2 restaurants. I mean, for sure, there's exclusives can be really crazy.
Can be game killers too if you already signed the lease and your business plan is built on something that's totally excluded.
Beth, you have a goal of getting more women to invest in real estate. You're certainly a shining example of that. Tell us a little bit about the motivation behind that, and we'll talk a little bit about the Women's Real Estate Investment Summit. But tell us a little bit about your motivation for that.
Jennifer was the motivation behind that. the woman sitting next to you, right, Jen?
Yeah, it was a conversation we had.
Yeah, because I was like, I know people say they want to do it, but I don't think they want to do it. And she's like, you got to keep pushing. We want to do it. So I had read a stat that said of all of the commercial real estate investors in the domestic U.S., 3% were women. And I found that deplorable. And then I read further and it said that of the 3%, 50% were spouses and women who inherited. So I thought, okay, so I'm part of the 1.5%. That's just crazy. And then so many women in the industry, whether it's retail, office, industrial, multifamily, they are leasing space. They work for developers. They represent tenants, and they represent a coffee concept. And they find them a location, and then they find the location to buy, and then they put this whole package together, and they say, okay, developer who happens to be male, you take it and run with it. So I started investigating, why is that? Why are you not doing it yourself? And at first they said, well, it's too much money. And so I kind of debunked that, because you can be an LP for as low as, in some situations, $5,000, And then I thought, well, maybe they're not investing. And then I found out, no, they're definitely investing in the stock market. And then, well, it's too complicated. I'm like, do you not think the stock market is complicated? My Netflix stock dropped 80% last year. I don't understand that. Then it was fear. They were afraid. Well, what are you afraid of? So what it really, 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 really boiled down to, after months and months and months of interviewing and surveying women, is they didn't see other women in their circles doing it, which then goes back to the 3%. Of course, they don't see women doing it because there aren't a lot of women doing it. So I decided, with the help of people like Jen, that I would put on a conference where I would put women on stage that are doing it. So women that invested in multifamily, women that invested in hospitality hotels, women that invested in self-storage. Because if 200 women or 300 women can sit in an audience and hear the stories of how they raised money, how they found the deal, why did they pick that asset class? It was hard. How did they overcome obstacles? If enough women would start hearing stories of other women and start meeting women that were doing it, they would feel more comfortable and start doing it. And that's what we have found. Our next one is our 4th annual in March in Fort Lauderdale. And I have seen probably over 50 women over the first 3 years that had never invested before start investing. So we're making baby steps, but I'm okay with baby steps. My goal is to hit 10% by the time I turn 70. I have 7 years, and I think we'll be able to get there.
I agree. It just keeps getting better and better every year. I've been to all of them. And I think what's so amazing about what you do is a lot of these conferences are for networking. And you're like, we're not going to network. You guys can network on your own. This is all about bringing you value and just drowning you in information. And I invested before I met you, but I always wanted to get into different asset classes or bigger and bigger deals. And I've already done a deal with some of the women from that conference. And this year I'm bringing my daughter, because I want her to start investing. And we've been talking about investing, so she's super excited.
Awesome. By the way, I get major FOMO when I have a lot of my female colleagues in the industry and they post about it.
We take pictures. They're like, Fernando.
Yes. And I get pictures sent to me. They don't even post them in social media. They just send them to me. So
you can come. You can come.
Or send your daughters. Send your daughters and Desi.
I think that'd be awesome. I think Desi and Jessica will be on board.
Yeah.
I tell them, I say to the women, I'm not going to teach you how to do it. That's the one area I don't know enough about all these other asset classes to teach the women how to do it. There's other opportunities and options for them to go learn how to do self-storage, to learn how to do hospitality. I want to inspire them to go learn about it. And I want them to bring their mothers, their sisters, their daughters, and I want men to bring their daughters.
That would be lovely. I love that.
So in wrapping up, I know we are going to put, by the way, the link to sign up for the Women's Investment Summit in show notes. So keep an eye out for that. And we know you love challenges, and you just completed a really big physical challenge where I had no idea what a ruck was. I didn't know half the stuff. And then you're throwing out numbers like, what, 900 step up? Like, who does 900 step up? So tell us what you learned from that last physical challenge.
The area in my life that I want to improve the most as I get older, obviously, my goal is to dance at my son's weddings. They're young. They're 23 and 20. So I was an older mom. So I want to make sure I'm the healthiest I can be. And to do that, you need to have good fitness, right? And that's just not something as most entrepreneurs, being healthy and working out is last on our list. So it's been a big focus of mine. And so there's a guy, Jesse Itzler, for those of you that don't know, you should follow him. His wonderful wife, Sarah Blakely, is the owner of Spanx, and he does challenges all the time. And a couple years ago, he did the Calendar Club Challenge where he ran it, which means you do your thing every day of the month. So day one, you run a mile. Day two, you run 2 miles. I've never run anything in my life. I'm like, I cannot run this. But his 10-year-old son, Laser, biked it. And I said, I could bike it. So I biked 496 miles, I think the August of COVID. And then I biked it again. And then I swam it, the laps. And so I hadn't done any, and that was the year I turned 60. So I was feeling really good, but I knew it was time to take the next step up. And so Jesse did an entrepreneurial boot camp where it was fitness, nutrition, breathing, and business. And my thing was I wanted to really learn about the fitness, nutrition, and the breathing, and the business would have been a byproduct. And so we had calls every week with our fitness trainer, and we had challenges and we had workouts we had to do. And it was an 8-week program culminating with a 24-hour event, which included a 4-hour endurance challenge. And I was so scared. And a cold plunge, by the way. And I started doing cold showers because I got to get ready for this cold plunge. But yeah, so we started. The first week was 200 step-ups. Now, I have a trainer that I go to twice a week, and when he tells me to do 10 step-ups, I roll my eyes and I whine. So the fact that I had to do 200, week one, so 200 step-ups, 14 and a half inches high or higher. And then we had to ruck. So we're on this call, and they're talking about rucking, and there's 20 of us on the call, participants, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. What is a ruck? I had no idea. So now I have the ruck is when you're carrying weight. Like in the first week, because I didn't have a ruck vest with weights, I had a backpack that I put a 10-pound dumbbell in. So now my girlfriend, Natasha, who Jen knows, bought me a ruck vest, and then I had already bought I have 2 ruck vests now. So we had to ruck like a mile, and then we got all the way up to 9 miles rucking with 20 pounds. The guys were at 40 pounds. At the end, we had our last week 900 step-ups twice, and then physical fitness like push-ups and burpees. I had never done a burpee before, and so it was 8 weeks. And I was so scared that I would show up and be embarrassed that I I probably did 95% of all of the pre-workouts. My peers, who were mostly in it for the business stuff, didn't prepare at all. So like the 7th week call, they're like, oh yeah, we haven't done any of the step ups. And I'm like, oh my God, like I was so proud. So when we get there, we had a 4-hour endurance thing where we did 1,000 step ups over, every 30 minutes. We hiked, I think 7 miles with a ruck. We had to do pull-ups. I did a couple pull-ups. And so I was so proud. I was the oldest one by the person next younger to me was 54. And I won the award for the most, I embraced the program the most. I won the award. I have a bracelet that says no 0 days. So I was just so happy that I finished and that I did everything. And the trainer, when he gave me the award, he took me by the shoulders and he goes, "You are an athlete, Beth." So I was very proud.
Oh, that's amazing. We're wrapping up because we're very respectful of your time, but there is so much more to know and learn from Beth and about Beth that we're only going to do one fun fact today. And that fun fact is about Beth and her social media. She has 352 videos on YouTube, 1,246 posts on Instagram. She's everywhere on social and has different ideas on how to use social for all sorts of different things related to prospecting or networking or learning about how to invest in real estate. So please follow her. All you have to do is Google her because she has succeeded in addition to being an athlete. She is everywhere. And it's, everybody knows Beth. So thank you so much, Beth, for joining us. And congratulations on completing not just any physical challenge, but an extremely challenging one. Is there any challenge you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, first of all, thank you all for also introducing me as a mom at the beginning of the show, because that's my most important job, is being a mom of 2 boys. I'm a boy mom. So I love that. My challenge is just, if you are a woman watching, think about investing in real estate other than the stock market. If you are a man and you have a woman in your life, encourage them to think about investing in real estate, especially most of your followers or many of your followers are in the business. This is legal insider trading, ladies and gentlemen. So take advantage of that. The wisdom that you are learning and that you are doing every day, help it add to your family's wealth.
That's perfect.
That's lovely.
Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in March, if not before.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for being here. This is just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Beth Azor. This is deserving of a clap for sure.